What's up, guys? Welcome back to Sip and Dip with Chelsea. Today's video is episode 2 of the do's and don'ts. We're going to be covering chunky glitter dip powder today. So Fairy Glamour sent me over her Pop Star collection, and y'all, they are so gorgeous. Look at how fun all of these glitters are, which was perfect for today's episode. I really love her packaging, and just wait until you see these swatches. So from left to right is Prestige, K-Pop Revolution, Paparazzi, Superstar, Pop Star, and Idol Debut. So I've already gone ahead and prepped my nails, so I do have a dip powder base liquid on them, but if you haven't already checked out episode 1, that is all about lifting and prep. I will link that video down in the description box below. So the very first do is about your dip powder liquids. So Manny Boss dip powder liquids are phenomenal. Her base is very slow drying, which is perfect for chunky glitter dip powder. It lets you have enough time to clean up, tap down all the glitters, and make sure that your application is not too thick. So you guys voted for K-Pop Revolution over on my Instagram page, so that's what we're using during today's video. So when you start out your application, it is so important to make sure that you are getting as much product off of your brush as possible. So as you can see here, I am just wiping off the liquid, and that's about how much I use. Now with my finger pointed slightly down, I'm going to let gravity help me keep this liquid off of my skin. So I start my brush here and I guide it back towards my cuticle area. This gives me control of the liquid, make sure I keep it off of my skin, and then I just paint it across the entire nail. So for this first layer, I am going to dip into the powder. So as you can see right here, all of this fine glitter, I'm gonna dip into there. And I know you're probably thinking, well, where is all the chunky glitter? Well, in order to keep your nails thin and natural, I prefer to have my first layer be just the fine and smaller glitter pieces. So with a toothpick, I'm just cleaning up around my cuticle area, and then I'm going to tap my finger down into the powder. So this helps prevent any product, any liquid, any of those loose glitter pieces sticking to my pointer finger. But I do want to make sure everything is laying flat before going in with my second layer. So another option for your first layer would be to pour over. So the pour over method works the same way, where only the fine glitter pieces are going to stick to the nail. So I'm just gonna pour out some of these big chunky pieces here on the top, and then I'm gonna pour over on top of the nail. And you will see only these finer, smaller pieces are sticking and the chunky pieces are falling off. So with my dip powder base liquid and my finger pointed slightly down, I'm just gonna follow the same steps, being careful not to get the product on my skin, and paint an even layer across the entire nail. So for the second layer, instead of dipping in or pouring over, we're gonna lay our nail flat on top. So tapping down the jar to get all of those big beautiful pieces, I'm gonna lay my nail flat into the powder. And now this is when you have to put in the work. So go around your nail and just pull off any straggler pieces that you have hanging off the edges, and start gently tapping down all of the pieces and maneuvering them how you want. So if you have any bare spots, or just gently guide them around where you want. If there's any laying on top of each other, just make sure you're getting everything to lay flat and off of your skin. This is why I love Manny Boss liquid so much, because as you can see, I am still cleaning up and my liquid has not dried. It gives me the time to make the nail look the way I want, so that I don't have to spend all of my time filing and shaping. So here's my second and final layer of the chunky glitter, and everything laid down beautifully. The powder was so easy to work with. I am not going to have to do a ton of work on this nail. We're just gonna dust off, and then if you have a spot that's bare, use your base liquid to tap into that area, grab a toothpick, and tap onto the wet liquid to pick up the glitter piece and add it where you want. Once that's dry, then we can move on to our next step. So this step is optional. It's a chunky glitter hack that I learned from Made by Kit. So with my activator, I'm just gonna go around on those big pieces and just gently tap. So the activator is going to make those glitter pieces curl and shape into the same shape as my nail. It just helps them lay flat and get that beautiful, even coverage. But I do want y'all to be careful doing this because I do not want to see you guys contaminate your liquids. So make sure if you try this out that you do let it dry for several minutes before clear encapsulating. So everything is laying nice and flat, which means no thick nails, not a lot of filing, and we can move on to adding some clear. So a major part of doing chunky glitter nails is about using a quality clear. You don't want to spend all that time doing all of that work and your clear is brainy or it's got bubbles or yellows, and that is why I use Manny Boss's clear. It is phenomenal. It is just like glass. It does not leave any bubbles. It does not yellow. It's so great. I cannot say enough amazing things. So for this third layer, I'm actually going to leave more product on my brush because I'm going to float it across the nail and fill in any ridges or any areas that aren't exactly the same height between the glitter pieces. So you will see here, I'm kind of pressing it down into those areas. I really want to make sure I get that liquid there because the clear dip powder is going to not only protect it, but it's going to give me an even layer so that I can file and shape. So now it's time to activate. So I'm just going to apply a generous layer across all of my nail. I like to do 2 layers just to make sure it gets through all of the product. So as you can see here, that is with no filing, no shaping, and no buffing. That is just application. So I do want to point this out. You can see this little shiny piece on this chunky glitter here and a few other spots on my nails. So what that means is that I did not get the liquid all the way over on top of those pieces, so they are not being protected by clear. So when I do file and shape, I have to be careful not to file and shape those pieces or else they will lose their color. So now with my Macart nail file, I got a pack of these off Amazon. They're 100/180 grit. I used the 100 grit side first to go around and shape the outer edges of my nails. So if you notice that you have a lot of exposed glitter pieces that are not protected by clear, then I would suggest doing a second layer of clear before filing and shaping. But I'm not too worried about it because they're just those outer edge pieces. So with my buffing block, I'm just gonna go around and smooth the top surface of my nail. But like I mentioned earlier, I do not have to do a whole lot because I did it all during application. So I'm just being careful not to buff those exposed glitter pieces and just make sure the surface is smooth. Now it's time for our second and final layer of activator, so apply a generous amount across the entire nail and let that dry for 2 minutes. So with a lint-free wipe, I'm just making sure I don't have any leftover activator residue on my nail, and then we can do our dip powder top coat. So this first layer is just going to be a few quick swipes on my nail, but what I wanted to show you, I grabbed my napkin because I do a lot of this outside of the camera's view, but I make sure that I wipe the brush off on a napkin on both sides before putting it back in my bottle every single time, and same with my base liquid as well. So immediately following, we can go in for our second and final layer of our dip powder top coat. So now that I've shown you how I do like to do my chunky glitter nails, I want to show you a don't. So I want to show you what happens if on this second layer we were to dip this swatch stick into the powder instead of laying our nail flat. So watch what happens when I dip in. It makes all of those chunky glitter pieces pool up and ripple all in one place in the center of the nail. So now they're kind of stacked on top of each other, but I want to show you guys how to fix this. So if you find yourself in a position where you've got a bunch of chunky glitter on your nail and you're not sure what to do, you're afraid you're going to overfile and take some of the glitter off, let's go ahead and fix this swatch stick. So just like I did on my own nail, I do leave more product on my brush when it comes to clear encapsulating. So I'm just gonna press into those bare areas and try to fill it all in so there's no longer a ridge and an uneven surface. So here is the first layer of clear, and as you can see, there are so many lumps and ridges, and it's not even whatsoever. This is why I keep saying it's so important to spend the time during application, because you won't have to spend it while you file and shape. So what I would say here, this is gonna be a don't to try to move on and file at this point. You absolutely have to do a second layer of clear. You need a full even protection on top of your nail before moving on to filing and shaping. So if you're at this point and you don't see an even surface and you think you're gonna have to do a whole lot of filing and shaping, you do need to add on one more layer of clear before moving on to buffing and shaping. So this will be our second and final layer of clear, but you're gonna see such a huge difference once I dip into this powder of how even the swatch stick looks, and you'll be in such a better place when you go on to file and shape. This will also give you a little bit of cushion room, so when you do buff and shape, you don't have to worry about filing off any color on those glitters. So now look at how beautiful and even the surface is on this swatch stick. So if you find yourself in that position, don't be afraid to add on another layer of clear, and this swatch stick would be ready to file and shape. So that is it for episode 2. I hope that you guys found today's video helpful. I tried my best to share all of my tips and tricks, the do's and don'ts, and what happens if you are in one of those situations and how to fix it. As you can see during today's video, doing that work during application really does save you during filing and shaping. It gives you that thin and natural look, and that's what we're all here for. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys back here for the next episode.